heart fills with dread. Probably a murderer who wants you dead. It could be a ghost, a demon, or worse. Perhaps you're the victim of a witch's curse. It's hopeless, you're doomed. You'd call a priest if you could. You'd rather just listen to who? Sinisterhood. Well, hello and welcome to another edition of Freaky Friday. It is Friday, October 6th. It's the first Freaky Friday in October.
I love to see it. It's the best month of the year. I don't love that yesterday it was 100% humidity here and maybe 100 degrees.
Not just that.
Did not feel like fall.
Well, it does now because that humidity, like a big egg in the sky, swelled until it cracked into some of the loudest thunder. We were on your back porch last night to the point you were like, that's just happening to us right now. We can't do anything to stop this. And you're right. It was violent thunder, so loud. We thought it was talking to us.
We thought we were communicating with someone, certainly, because we would say something and then it would be like, like, don't you talk shit. At one point, I just looked at you. I said, stop making it mad.
I go, here's the deal. Everyone says we're going to run out of water. It's just pouring from the sky. Why don't we just take that and it went bam. And I went, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I won't steal your rain. I'll let the rain go to the plants and the animals. I'm so sorry. Yeah, the sky wasn't having none of my bullshit ideas last night, which is fair.
No, it was, did we ever go in? No, we were covered. So I think that's fine. Then we looked up what happens when you get struck by lightning and what that looks like.
Lichtenberg figures.
Yes.
That was a wild thing. And separately, I was then looking at wild videos online and happened to see some lightning strikes on a beach recently. That was crazy. That shit is just,
it's wild.
You can't control it. You can't stop it.
It's just up there. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it because this is not our planet, as Tommy recently said. When we were camping, he just looked around and said, this isn't our planet. No. We just live here. Like, we don't own, this isn't ours. This is everybody else's.
He said, we're the baby in the corner playing with our toy going, wow, this place is kind of big. It's like, you had no fucking clue how big it is. Or how deep it goes.
Yeah, just like that ocean on Europa, which I also learned about last night.
Very exciting. And saw a TikTok about the Jupiter moon Europa. If you're not following that story, there might be a big ass ocean, maybe full of space whales. We don't know. Jupiter's moon
We freaked ourselves out thinking about if we don't even know what's in our oceans, what could be living on another planet's ocean, Europa's ocean. And we decided space whales, probably there. What do they look like? TBD.
They look like regular whales, but they're in spacesuits.
But they have astronaut helmets on.
They're just in astronaut helmets. Well, I can't wait until the space probe lands in 2030 and we get to meet the space whales for the first time. Well, just as freaky as outer space is, so freaky are not only the stories we have for you today, but we have a guest story coming from Brandon of Southern Gothic that you'll hear at the end. And it is a perfect spooky story for the first Freaky Friday of October.
It's a very good one to lead us into the most wonderful time of the year.
That's right. It's the most wonderful. I got pumpkins in front of my
time of the year.
There'll be pumpkins and ciders and evil bad doers and kids in their costumes and I have pumpkins all out in front of my house. It looks like pumpkins threw up, and I love them so much. Thank you to our friend Stephanie. Stephanie at Outdoor Aesthetics hooked it up with the pumpkins. I probably have 15. I'll post pictures.
Shut up.
There's big ones. There's little ones. One of the biggest pumpkins I've ever seen. It's amazing. I've always driven by houses and thought, what a bunch of classy bitches with those pumpkins. How do you even know what pumpkins to pick or what order? Here's the deal. I don't. You find a friend who's a professional landscaper.
And they bring them over to your house.
Yes. Now my house looks fall-tastic.
Well, that's great. Are they multiple colors or all orange?
Different colors, different textures. I just was like
some gourds.
Go out and rub my gourds
in there.
On Nextdoor, the lady's out there just rubbing her gourds all day. Leave me in my gourds alone. If I'm going to rub my gourd, that's how I celebrate the season. So rub your gourd.
If you need to celebrate privately with your gourd, then go right ahead.
Don't let anyone stop
We
you.
have a mutual friend that is legitimately has a phobia of gourds.
Gordophobic?
I don't
She's
know what it's called.
gordophobic? No, not.
It's a guy.
Oh,
And he
no.
listens. So,
Hey, what's up?
Kyle, I'm very sorry.
Oh, God, I'm
just
sorry.
triggered by this gourd talk.
Also, we live near each other. Please don't. I'm sorry. Just avoid my
Don't
house.
walk by Heather's house. You're going to flip out.
It's a gourd overload. I mean,
This is a really difficult time of year for some people that have gourd phobias.
You're seeing shit you don't expect to see. One day, all of a sudden, the harvest comes. Bam, gourd in your face.
Yeah, it's not good for everyone. Good for me and you, though, and good for the people that send in their stories, in the sense that we hope that sharing them has made you feel better. Like we say every week, sharing is caring. And
Yes.
I'm sorry, that's what I say to my children every week. What we say here is there's so much power in sharing and storytelling, but also sharing is caring.
You have to care to take the time to write the stuff out. So thank you for taking that time and caring about us. And all y'all, thanks for caring to listen. We hope we have a lineup that will interest, perhaps upset, frighten. And at the end, it'll all wrap up with a nice, spooky Southern Gothic moment.
Well, I'm Christy.
I'm Heather.
And let's get freaky. Content warning, this next one discusses allegations of child abuse. Well, this first one kind of dovetails with what we've been discussing the last 2 weeks here with all of the JW stuff. This is from D, and it is called Hometown Monsters. Hello, my besties. It's been a weird few years to be a recently ex-Mormon true crime lover from Utah. Between this 8 passengers drama, Chad Daybell and Lori Vallow, Corey Richins, the dentist who poisoned his wife, and countless Mormon-centric crime documentaries, my free time has been busy, and my search history is horrifying. I hail from Springville, Utah, a pretty normal town around the middle of the state, about 40 minutes from where you did your last live show, which I attended and loved. I want to share a gut-wrenching encounter my uncle recently had with the Frankie family. He was a primary teacher for one of the Frankie kids, think children's ministry / Sunday school class, and said the boy was a quiet little sweetheart. Between COVID and the family's growing isolation, he stopped seeing the boy so much. Earlier this year, when everyone was starting to worry about never seeing the kids, my uncle saw this boy out riding his bike. He hurriedly jogged over to say, "Hey buddy, how you been? I haven't seen you in a minute." But the kid stopped in his tracks. According to my uncle, he looked terrified, mumbling something like, "Sorry, I can't talk," and turned to abruptly ride his bike back home. My uncle was upset by the interaction, but didn't really know why. Later, he learned that these young kids were likely left home alone when their mother traveled to southern Utah with her twisted friend and therapist to abuse her older children. They were threatened to stay silent and minimize contact with the outside world. Fast forward to August, when this boy's 2 older siblings were found emaciated and injured, resulting in the arrest of their mother and her problematic therapist. Everyone from my hometown is horrified, and I've seen countless stories of people who have had suspicions all the way up to full-blown run-ins with this infamous therapist, Jody Hildebrandt. This community was just coming off the absolutely awful Chad Daybell case, since the Daybells were also from this same city prior to their move to Idaho. I have a lot of theories about why Mormons are at the center of so many wild crime stories, and I'm so excited you'll be doing a Jehovah's Witnesses episode, as I think a lot of it will be applicable to the Mormon church too. Always happy to be a cultural reference for any Mormon cases or cult episodes, as I'm a born and raised Mormon who finally realized the undue influence. Thanks, Steve Hassan and the Bite model. Love you both to the moon, whether it's full of Batman or not. Keep it creepy.
This case has really made me sick to my stomach, as it has anybody who's encountered it. But I first encountered it because I accidentally listened to the 911 call of the gentleman who had found the young man, and the concern in that man's face and the way his voice breaks and stuff. I hope the book is fully thrown at both of these women. It's
hard to stomach for sure. If you're not familiar with this case, Google it. There's a million articles. Essentially, This woman was a influencer for her and her 6 kids. Yeah, her and her husband's 6 kids. And it started out with like a YouTube channel where she would document just their lives and whatnot. People started to be concerned with videos that were posted about how she would talk to her children, or it was very clear some basic necessities that were being withheld from them as punishment and stuff. And she is a fucking monster, man. To watch those videos where her children look so broken and she's just laughing, videoing them after she went around the house and gathered up anything she found that they had left out in a garbage bag, and then says, now you get to buy all this back. And then one of the boys goes, Mom, my homework's in there. And the fear in his voice, knowing probably because if he doesn't get good grades, he's going to be abused. And now he also has to use his own money to buy back his homework because he happened to leave his piece of paper out on the table. And she wanted to teach them the value of being responsible and money.
I hope she's taught the value of handcuffs on her wrist for a long time.
Same with her husband. He was complicit in this too. And this quote unquote therapist who it's all like conversion therapy, just abuse, wilderness extreme camp tactics. It's awful. And she's now been arrested. One of her kids was finally able to crawl out of a window to go to a neighbor's house. And that neighbor is probably the one you heard the 911 call. Both he and his sister were starving.
Duct taped,
The kid had duct tape on his wrist and ankles and cuts from it when he showed up at the neighbor's house. They were dying of thirst and hunger, and it's disgusting. It's awful, and these kids have a lifetime of therapy ahead of them. I'm so glad they're now in safe situations, and she is in jail currently.
Most definitely. It kind of shows you what happens. Religious extremism mixed with the exploitation of kids online. Like we had that whole conversation about when we, on our bonus content on Patreon, of the life of the child of one of these mom bloggers and how much damage you're truly seeing done to the kids that we can't even know, because it's the first generation of on-demand, extensive child exploitation. And in this case, it wasn't just exploitation. On top of it, it was abuse and neglect too. But at the very least, the mom bloggers absolutely are responsible for the exploitation of their kids. And we just don't know the long-term mental effects it's going to have on kids. But for these ones, I hope in the short term, they're getting, like you said, all the resources they can have. For sure. They need it.
Yeah. From stuff that's starting to come out, no one has come out yet saying, I grew up in a family where all of my moves were vlogged and I love it and I'm very stable. That article has yet to come out, but many have come out from kids that are older now saying, it ruined my life and now I don't have a relationship with my parents.
Yeah. Now I don't have any privacy either, any digital privacy, and no relationship with mom and dad. So bless D, your uncle, for trying to reach out to that kid, you know, just being like, hey buddy, how you doing? Yeah,
I hope your uncle and your whole community that has been put through so much can really heal and know that, you know, at least these kids are getting the help they need. Several of the other families you mentioned, those kids are not going to be able to get the help they need.
No. Sinisterhood will be right back.
Well, this next one is from Becca, and it is called My Nightmare Narcissist Mother Almost Put Me in a Coma. And if the subject line doesn't give it away, this also describes incidents of child abuse. Hey, Christy and Heather, I'm using a fake name here, not to be so identifiable, although anyone close to me knows this story. I'd like to share with you guys a story of my own brush with true crime. I'm about to be 30, so this story was over 15 years ago when I was 14 years old. My mom was my best friend for as long as I can remember. I was very close to her. When I was 14, my mom told me she wanted to leave my father and take me. She claimed my father was abusive, though I'd never seen it. She had me begin squirreling away money and packing a bag for whenever we needed to go. I lived weeks on edge until she left with me. As we left, my dad was more upset than I've ever seen him in my life. He was absolutely broken and devastated. We moved in with my grandparents, and I only saw my dad every other weekend while divorce paperwork was filed. During these weeks, I started feeling super strange. I couldn't seem to think clearly, and I was exhausted. At night, my mom would give me medicine, which I thought was to help me sleep. I trusted her, so I didn't ask. It was NyQuil and orange juice. In the mornings, I would wake up and only see blackness. I felt paralyzed. I would have to will myself to move my feet, my legs, all the way up my body until I could see again. It got progressively worse each morning. I knew it wasn't right, but something deep inside me didn't want to mention it to my mom. I followed my gut. The next weekend that I saw my dad, he could tell something was wrong with me. He asked if I was feeling okay. I spilled to him what had been happening each morning. He asked if my mom gave me any medication. I told him about the NyQuil, medicine, and orange juice. He slowly, gently led me down a road of who my mother is. She had, for basically my entire life, been a compulsive liar and true narcissist. She'd tried to hurt my dad before, but he was trying to keep the marriage together for my sake. He'd spent the weeks I'd been with my mom desperately trying to find a way to get me back. The upending of my view of my mother made me physically sick. He showed me proof of things she'd done in the past, and I decided to stay with my dad. In the following days, my mind cleared and I didn't feel exhausted or have the trouble waking up I'd had. My dad took me to a doctor, and the best assumption we could all piece together is that my mother was giving me something to make me sleep. She was sneaking out at night and didn't want me to know. The doctor told me I was likely showing symptoms of overdosing on whatever I was given, and was close to a coma. I went no contact with my mom after several attempts to repair our relationship. She still does not own up to drugging me. I haven't spoken to her in over 10 years. I'm sharing my story to tell everyone to trust your gut and don't be ashamed to cut out toxic family members. There's life on the other side that has so much more to offer. Thank you for reading this, ladies, if you do, and keep it creepy.
Wow, that is something so eerie that as soon as you get away from her, you feel better.
Yeah.
And to think that you would harm your own kid for something as, I just want to go out at night. The amount of narcissism that takes.
I mean, yeah, there's been many cases that's happened, and it ends in death. Casey Anthony is a good example of what a lot of people believe is something like this was happening. It's disgusting to think you would do something like this to your kid for your own selfish gratification. Also, at 14, I mean, that seems like there's more to it than just waking. You know what I mean? It's like at 14, you can probably stay at home by yourself. It reminds me a lot of the show Sharp Objects on HBO. If you haven't seen that,
I'm not.
It's hard to watch. It's good, but Amy Adams is in it. But yeah, stuff like this, it's bordering on perhaps even like Munchausen type stuff, or keeping your kids drugged so you can do stuff. It's despicable, and I'm proud of you for cutting your mother out.
Yeah, you're right, Becca. It does not. There is life on the other side. It's that old adage of like, oh, blood is thicker than water and you're related, so you have to whatever. And it wasn't until a family member who I'm related to by marriage was like, you got to earn your seat at the table. He was like, just because you're born into something doesn't mean you're automatically a member of that family if you don't act like a member of the family in a way that supports the family. And getting your kid on edge and being like, you got to pack a bag, we can leave at any second, on made up baseless lies, and then physically harming the kid or whatever.
And feeding them lies about your dad. You grow up thinking your dad's an abuser, and then you find out it was actually the other way around. So, yeah, she didn't. That's anytime someone goes no contest, it's like when someone gets a divorce from a shitty marriage. Someone's like, I'm getting a divorce. I'm never like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, good for you. Good for you. Let's go celebrate. Yes, you're choosing the right path. So good for you, Becca. I hope you can find healing through all that. For sure.
This next one is from Ethan, and the subject line is Sinisterhood gave me a stalker. Maybe? Hey, y'all. As my tagline hinted at, you ladies are, in a roundabout butterfly effect sort of way, responsible for my Freaky Friday experience. For context, I'm a 1L in law school in San Francisco, and you ladies, your individual life stories, and your pod are some of my largest inspirations for deciding to go to law school. Listening to you each and every week through my undergrad was a godsend, and somewhere along the way, the sort of wisdom and lessons you imbue, even in the lighthearted episodes, really helped steer me down the career path I've chosen. Anyway, this leads me to where I am now, living in the city for the first time, embarking on my legal education. My story takes place a couple Fridays ago when my law classmates and I decided to go out to a karaoke bar downtown. I'm new to this city, and honestly, new to adult friendships in general, as most of my college experience thus far has been dictated by the pandemic and pandemic-adjacent policies. As such, going out spontaneously like this and randomly deciding to take Ubers across town was a new experience for me. We went to a bar downtown and drank, sang, and generally made fools of ourselves for a while. Eventually, my closest classmate and I, neither of which were drinking at this point and were almost entirely sober, decided to Uber back to her car and sit and talk until she felt completely sober to drive herself home. I lived in walking distance of where she had parked her car. This is when our situation occurred. My classmate called the Uber, which not only took forever, but when it got close, it looked as if he sat parked several blocks away for a while before making his way to where we were waiting. I never did find out what that was about. Once he was to us, before we could get in, some girl ran over, got in, and he drove away. At this point, we were feeling seriously frustrated because San Francisco is cold at night, and my Central Valley self is still accustomed to wearing Hawaiian shirts and shorts in August. My classmates ended up calling the Uber to see what the situation was. It turns out he picked up some random person instead of us. When he realized he had the wrong person, he just pulled over on some random street and made her get out. We didn't find out this part until towards the end. Otherwise, we would have just had her share our Uber because what the heck? Who does that to someone in the city? Once we were finally in the Uber heading towards my classmate's car was when things really got weird. As I mentioned, this was a night out with my classmates, but neither of us ever mentioned our school or were wearing anything at all to show where we went to school or show the program we were in. But at some point, our Uber driver explicitly referred to us as students of our specific school. I'm going to refrain from saying the name. He specifically named our school and referenced us being students, which was especially weird as my classmate is a slightly older returning student, so she doesn't fit the bill of the stereotypical student. Both of us immediately looked at each other in shock. How did he know? We know for a fact we never mentioned it. We tried to brush this off as we finally got closer to our other friend's address that my classmate had parked near. This was the real kicker for me. My classmate had parked around the corner from our friend's house. We planned to just walk over to her car. But instead of taking us to the GPS address we'd given him, the Uber driver kept driving and stopped directly at my classmate's car to let us out. He even directly referenced it being her car. I was seriously freaked out at this point. We both quickly jumped out and into her car, and he left without any commotion. While nothing specifically dangerous or threatening happened, I have absolutely no way to explain how he knew exactly where we went to school and which car was hers. Was he an amateur psychic Ubering on the side for extra cash? A stalker following my classmate? Or just a very deductive dude? I'll never be entirely sure, but I will continue to dine out on the fact that my favorite podcast sort of put me in fate's way of this strange, psychic potential stalker Uber driver. Thank you, ladies, for everything you do, even if it does convince people to go to law school and encounter supernatural Uber drivers.
Well, congratulations on law school. That is not an easy feat. And Heather, I think you may be the reason that Ethan is now having some strange encounters.
Don't sell yourself short, Judge. I think you had some things to do with it.
Yeah, that is true. I also am a member of the legal community.
I'm a member of the bar. You're a member of the bench. We both have
our bar own. And bench. That's right. Going to be the name of our new restaurant we open.
Hell yeah.
This is super weird. This would make me very uncomfortable. I don't like this.
I didn't like knowing that they went to the school, and I didn't like going directly to the car instead of the address that was in the GPS. Because, like, it's just the address and just go to the GPS. I didn't ask you to take me somewhere else.
You could maybe just deduce they were students. I mean, maybe one of them because of just, like, the area, but not having any kind of student gear on and still making that call. But the knowing where she parked that's unsettling.
Yeah, I don't like that.
I mean, when Uber came around, we all were like, this is ridiculous. Nobody wants to get in a car with a stranger. Then everybody was like, oh, no, this is great. And now we all use it. But at the same time...
Were you turning on Uber?
We all use it, but also, I mean, you know, we don't know who anybody is, you know?
There's a percentage of people, both on the driving and on the rider side, that are off the wall, as somebody that I love call my mother, wackadoodle. There's just wackadoodle, like, there's just bizarre behavior, weird stuff, and I will, on Reddit, I'll end up on the Lyft driver, Uber driver, DoorDash driver subreddits, for two reasons. One, because sometimes the stories are very juicy, but also sometimes it'll be like, I really hate when writers do this, or I really hate when people who order food do this. It would be so much easier if this. I'm like, oh, well, if it's easier and they're less likely to, I don't know, fucking spike my ranch dressing like a football on Christy's porch, I'd like to know a way that I could be more helpful. But you should share this in the Uber forum and see if maybe or we can share a link to the episode in the Uber driver forum. Like, how do we think this driver knew exactly what this car was and where they were from? And then the driver responds and is like, I know everything.
Yeah, we need the point of view of that driver. Yeah, you bring up a good point, though. It's not only drivers, it's riders, and there have been issues on both sides. So to take on the job of, like, I'm gonna have a bunch of strangers, a lot of them gonna be drunk, getting in my car, doing stuff, that's a decision that you got to be real comfortable with too.
Right, that you that have your back turned to them, honestly. And in my case, and the last time I got an Uber in San Francisco, I had a big jar of juice that I was trying to hold, and the driver slammed his brakes so hard. It was a glass bottle of juice. That bitch rocketed to the front, didn't break. I was like, nice, this glass. I was shocked. But he was like, you see how these other people drive? I was like, I did, but I also saw you run up on that guy real fast. So it's fine. San Francisco, it's take no prisoners, though. I don't blame them. That is wild.
It is. You can't be light on the gas pedal when you're trying to go up and down those hills.
No, you gotta, otherwise you roll backwards. It's very dangerous.
It's a lot.
Well, Ethan, congratulations so much on law school and on surviving this harrowing incident. I let us know what rating you gave him. 5 stars, right? Knew more than I could have ever imagined. Took me where I wanted to go without me even telling him.
The only thing I can think of, and if this is the case, I feel like you have to disclose this. But if you said, oh yeah, I've been driving people around this area all night. No, now I'm saying this out loud, and I saw that you parked over there. Still doesn't make it better. Never mind.
Horrifying. Then it's like,
doesn't make it better.
I've been watching you. I saw your car.
Yeah. In fact, maybe it's worse.
The only thing I could think is maybe in conversation you accidentally let it slip and don't remember, but I don't. Yeah. I doubt it. Like, you'd remember being like in my car, which is a blue Nissan Sentra parked, 3 blocks away.
Mm-hmm.
Eerie. Well, let us know what y'all think, listeners. Yes. How do you think they knew? Sinisterhood will be right back. Well, this next one is from Emily, and the subject line is "Not on my damn birthday." Greetings. First, let me say I absolutely love you both. You've helped me get through some really rough times, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. This is a short one, but boy howdy. Later, I'll write down some of my other experiences, but for now, let's get into it. This happened on my birthday. I'm kind of having a shit time of things, and so I'm not super stoked about my birthday. My sister and I decided to keep things low-key and just take my pup, Pick included, for a walk and hang out. It was after dark, so we decided to go to a park on the safer side of town to walk my dog. We got birthday ice cream sandwiches on the way and headed out. Being a woman, I have pepper spray on my dog's leash for human and animal issues that may arise. When I get nervous, I usually keep it in my hand, but the park we went to is empty, and so my pepper spray was hanging on my leash. I had an ice cream sandwich in one hand and a flashlight in my other. The park we went to has a sidewalk that follows the outside edge of the park. It's a big oval. The area near the street has lights, and so does the part near the playground. There's only one area that's really dark, and that's where it happened. My sister and I were chatting away, eating our ice cream, when a person on a bike silently appeared from the darkness ahead. My first thought was how dangerous it was for them to be riding without a light. They were nearly on us before we saw them, and we had just enough time to scoot over. My annoyance was quickly replaced by heart-stopping fear when I got a look at the rider. He was wearing black and white clown makeup. I shit you not, my heart dropped into my nether regions, and I thought, I will not be murdered by a clown on my damn birthday. I was fumbling to grab my pepper spray and trying not to drop my ice cream sandwich. My priorities are sometimes, well, dumb. I managed to get my pepper spray in hand, and my sister lit the way with her headlamp. When I peeked behind us, the park was empty again. As quickly as the clown had appeared, he was gone again. My sister and I headed directly to the car and left immediately. No one was murdered, and all ice cream sandwiches were saved. Once in the safety of the car, I remembered reading on our local Reddit thread that there was a guy who liked to wear insane clown posse makeup and hang around at the local parks. As far as I could remember, he hadn't done anything to anyone, just managed to creep people out. If I ever see him in the light of day, I'll get a pic and send it to you. Hopefully, I can go the rest of my life never having a scary-ass clown right out of the darkness toward me, though. Keep it creepy, but not clowns in the dark creepy, because for fuck's sake, I'm getting too old for this shit.
I knew as soon as it was black and white, I was like, this guy is an ICP fan.
Juggalo.
He's a juggalo. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
You might not want to ride around a park at night with your juggalo makeup on in the dark.
It's your right to do that, but the danger is someone might pepper spray you in the face because you're just a clown on a bike riding at them. So to be safe, you want to bring a jug of Faygo on a front bike. You need a basket on the front with Faygo in it. You need a little Bluetooth speaker hanging that's playing the music, and he needs to, I don't know what the Juggalo greeting is. I'm sure they have one, but I can just
maybe there is one. Let's see.
Juggalo.
Greetings, Juggalo, and how are ye this fine evening? And a picture. Wait, did you not see the Faygo? Emily sent a picture of
her dog,
her sweet little doggy, who reminds me a bit of Toto. And the fact of like Toto, and then this person on this bike. But instead of the Wicked Witch, it is a Juggalo.
The Juggalo stole my dog.
Maybe the Juggalo stole your dog. Maybe the Juggalo ate your baby.
The Juggalo ate my baby. Look, it looks like a dog I used to have before she died of old age, but named Princess is what this
that happens, doesn't it?
Yes, she lived like a very, very long. God, that dog was 20-something. Little ones.
Oh yeah, we had a dog, dachshund named T-Rex. He lived into his 20s.
Such a good name for a dachshund.
Oh, he was great. He was little TB. Oh, so sweet. Yeah, he was great. But he lived. Oh gosh, I think he was 21 or so when we finally said goodbye. So
hang in there.
He was up there.
Emily, don't feel bad about your priorities. When I was held at gunpoint, I rescued the ice cream sandwiches that we were at my apartment to get a hold of. My brother-in-law went to confront by confront, he was like, "Get out of here, man," which is a great way. I imagine how Tommy would react.
Held at gunpoint. It wasn't as if they had a gun pointed at you while you were trying to eat an ice cream sandwich.
Truly. We were trying to get in the car. I had a box of ice cream sandwiches. A guy tried to rob us, starting out with my very large brother-in-law who looks like Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And my brother-in-law just turned around and went, "Get out of here." And the guy's like, he's like, I have a gun. I have a gun. And my brother-in-law goes, "You think this is the first time I've had a gun pointed at you? You're wrong. Damn. Get out of here." And I was freaking out. And then our other redneck friend went, gun, I got a gun. And then ran around and he was reaching under the seat. Well, the young man ran away. He was very afraid. And then my friend goes, oh man, it's my wife's truck. The gun's not in here. So I was like, cool. So we didn't have any weapons. We just yelled a lot. And anyway, I had the ice cream sandwiches that we had gone all the way to my apartment to retrieve. And as they were like, oh, what do we do? We were almost robbed. I was like, let me go get those ice cream sandwiches someone dropped on the ground and I picked them up. And they were like, really, Heather? That was your priority? I was like, we came all the way for them.
If you went all the way back there for them, it would be in vain had you not got them. What was the point of being nearly held up at gunpoint if you didn't get your little ice cream treat?
The best part, good point. You got to get it. The best parts are our other friend Rennie just sat in the back seat and was like, I'm not getting out. And I was like, we're all getting robbed. Yeah. And he was like, I'm not fucking with that.
Nope. I'm going to stay right here. But also, it wasn't like he tried to climb over and drive away. He was just kind of slinked down in the back, like maybe like, they won't see me back here.
He's just sitting quietly in the back, like, I have no beef with you. Take the man's wallet and go.
Take the ice cream sandwiches.
Yes. And the ice cream sandwiches survived, especially if it's your birthday ice cream sandwich. Don't feel bad about prioritizing that over the pepper spray.
You got to.
At worst, you could just huck it at the Juggalo.
Yeah. What a headline that would have been had she pepper sprayed this Juggalo.
Juggalo pepper sprayed.
Oh, the makeup runs so fast, too.
No.
So like, when the cops show up, you just look like a really sad clown. It's just streaming down your face.
It's like, I'm not a clown, I'm a Juggalo. Well, son, you were a Juggalo until someone fucked up your makeup.
Now you're just a sad clown.
Now you're just a sad clown.
Oh, I meant to look up if Juggalos have a greeting. Let me see real quick.
Before we end this, we have to know.
Do Juggalos have a greeting? How to be a Juggalo, 12 steps with pictures.
Wiki
please. Okay, Siri, you dumb.
Because a big part of it, I imagine this is a non-threatening.
Oh, she just said, that's not nice. Because I called her, you dumb. I didn't even finish my sentence.
You're like, I was going to swear at you. It was going to be worse.
She knows.
But that's I think number one of being a Juggalo is being nice, because if although some clowns are evil, I believe the thing of all Juggalos are welcoming and nice.
Yeah, their whole thing is they are very inclusive and welcoming and accepting. Well, if you want to know the 12 steps, I'm just going to go through real fast. Okay, 1, listen to the popular hits from ICP. Songs like Photograph, Great Malenko, Hocus Pocus, Boogie Woo Woo. Number 2, memorize the lyrics to key insane clown posse songs. Chicken Huntin' is a great song to memorize the lyrics to because it is the most played at their concerts.
Okay, they never do a show without Chicken Huntin'.
No, it's not a true ICP show if you don't hear Chicken Huntin'. 3, listen to other artists with Psychopathic Records. That is the record company co-founded by ICP.
Good for them.
Then you got to attend events. You got to go to a concert. You got to attend a gathering of the Juggalos, which those look like they are something else. I've watched several documentaries, and I feel like I've been there. Then you need to attend a Juggalo Championship wrestling event.
You got to.
Well. Didn't know those were a thing.
You got to take the belt home.
The Juggalo Championship Wrestling, it's a professional wrestling promotion founded in 1999. Well, they have just diversified their portfolio. This was founded by ICP.
They've smart.
Got stuff happening all over the place. Living a Juggalo lifestyle, also very important. To do that, you need to drink Faygo soda.
What'd I say?
You also need to talk like a Juggalo. Okay, here we go. Juggalos have their own catchphrase or battle cry. They also have different words to describe themselves. Okay. Knowing the Juggalo lingo will help you submerge yourself in the Juggalo lifestyle.
Okay.
The phrase whoop whoop is the Juggalo's catchphrase. It's 2 whoops. Whoop whoop.
Whoop whoop.
This is what Juggalos... Easy. Yeah, it's easy.
If you're riding a bicycle, you could go whoop whoop, and then people know you're a Juggalo, not an evil clown. Whoop,
you should have your horn to where it makes like when you squeeze it.
Exactly.
This is what Juggalos say out of excitement, encouragement, or just a general greeting to each other.
General greeting.
When you like another Juggalo's makeup or outfit, shout, whoop whoop to them. So this is good to know. If you see a juggalo riding at you again, Emily, just shout whoop whoop. If they return it, you know you're okay. If not, get out the pepper spray.
Then it's an evil clown. If you go whoop whoop and they don't whoop whoop back, if it's like a honk honk, like a clown horn, that's when you pepper spray.
Yeah. Also, it's good to know that juggalos call themselves ninja. It's common to yell whoop whoop ninja to a fellow juggalo.
Then if you yell whoop whoop ninja, you're going to get a whoop whoop back for the juggalo on wheels, the
and
bike.
If you don't, it's pepper spray.
Then you burn their
There's face. Also, oh my, did you know, Heather, that they have their own social media site? What do you think it's called?
Oh, something about an axe. Don't they do things with axes? That's like their little logo is like the hatchet. Something with a hatchet. Okay, I'm wrong.
It could be, but it's Juggalo Book.
Oh, well, that's better than anything. Why did that waste my time?
They went simple on that one. They kept it simple on that one. I
like the name of a thing where it explains it in the name, which is a Facebook for juggalos. Juggalo Book. Like, don't overthink it.
Oh, wow. Okay. We've all been talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. May I introduce to you the Juggalo coin, which is an internet-based currency to make purchases online. The Juggalo coin is set up to be a currency only to be used by people accepting of the Juggalo lifestyle. It was created to know that when you spend your money at a business that accepts the Juggalo coin, you know your money is supporting a fellow Juggalo. You can also use the Juggalo coin for charity by sending some to a Juggalo in need. The coin is designed to keep the money in the Juggalo family. Now, I don't know if this is going to be accepted at, your local Target or Starbucks, but you can try because you never know who's working the drive-thru.
You're like, can I interest you in some Juggalo coin? They're like, well, the conversion rate for one value meal to Juggalo coins, 1,300 Juggalo coins.
You are correct. Wear hatchet gear. The Insane Clan Posse's logo is a man with the hatchet. So when you sport that, people can easily identify you. You need to be wearing that if you're riding your bike in full makeup. Mm-hmm. And lastly, celebrate Juggalo Day. Oh my goodness. I thought the most important thing that happened on February 17th was the birth of my husband, but it turns out that is also Juggalo Day. February 17th, they did. I feel like this was intentional. February 17th was declared Juggalo Day by the Insane Clown Posse to thank and celebrate their fans. Celebrate Juggalo Day by drinking nothing but Faygo all
Brush your teeth with it, shower with it, douche with it, wash your children with it.
Brush your teeth with it. If you got a swimming pool, better be in your pool.
Yes. Drink it after a run. Just
get together with fellow Juggalos to celebrate or throw a huge house party and invite all the Juggalos you know. Check Juggalo Book to find out where Juggalo Day celebrations are taking place. Also, if all of your Juggalo decorations can probably be bought with Juggalo coin.
That's right.
I mean, I now know what I'm doing for Tommy's 40th.
Now we know.
February.
It's his 40th.
It's an ICP themed party, and we're having Juggalo themed party.
Do you remember last year when we went to Denver in the fall and they had that big ass cascade, that champagne cascade at the Brown Palace Hotel? We're gonna do that cascade, but it's gonna be a Faygo cascade.
Okay, that was 2-story. Yeah, that was 2 stories tall.
A 2-story tall pyramid of champagne glasses. We're gonna get a cherry picker, a lifter upper, a scissor lift, and then up there we're gonna pour Faygo as it runs down, and then everyone can come and get their glass of Faygo, and we'll raise a glass and we'll go whoop whoop
whoop whoop ninja. Yep.
And we'll all have a happy Juggalo Day.
Everyone has to be in makeup. You don't get into the party if you're not.
No choice.
You should wear a hatchet shirt. And it's ICP music all night long. Chicken hunting, which, did we even look up what that song is?
It's graphic.
Okay. Well, then everyone can...
Most of their lyrics are fairly graphic.
Everyone can go listen on their own.
The thing about ICP is I don't fuck with them musically just because we have different tastes, which is fine. They probably don't like what it's not that I don't like it, it's just not my choice. But lifestyle, personality wise, I couldn't love them more. I'm a huge fan.
Well, you know what? I think they're
just funny and delightful.
According to that wiki page, you do need to listen to their music, but I think if you just immerse yourself in the culture, eventually you're going to be a fan of the music. It's just going to happen organically.
It's going to be like through osmosis. I'm going to just be, every time I drink another cup of Faygo, I'm going to like it more. And then I'm going to wake up one day and I wouldn't have put the makeup on. It's just on me.
Yeah. Then and you can't wash it off either. It's on there permanently.
Well, I didn't learn how to be a juggalo on my bucket list for today, but you know what? I've done it and check.
I am so happy that Juggalo Day is also the day of Tommy's birthday.
So good. It's going to be so good. You think I'm lying about a Faygo Cascade? We're going to do it.
No, you think I'm lying about a 40th Faygo? I'm going to workshop what these invitations look like.
It's like, Tommy's turning 40. Isn't that insane? Clown Posse?
Clown Posse, parentheses. And then Tommy's it's turning 4-go.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, man. Tommy's not going to know about this until he listens. Y'all don't tell him it's a surprise party.
Don't tell him. It's a secret just for him only.
It's only for him. Wow.
Sinisterhood will be right back.
Well, I wonder if Brandon Schexnayder is a juggalo. You think?
Well, the thing about Brandon is he's into all kinds of cool, spooky, ghosty stuff. So I feel like he would be down to talk about some ICP with us because he was very down to talk about all kinds of other spooky stuff with us. And that is who you are about to hear is Brandon from Southern Gothic. If you're not familiar, Southern Gothic covers ghost stories, haunted places, and spooky stuff from the American South. But better than that, it is actually researched by a professional archivist who is also Brandon's sister, Bryanne.
I love that.
I love it. She works at the Louisiana Historical Center in New Orleans in the French Quarter. She's got a Master of Library and Information Science and a dual bachelor's in History and English, which is exactly the type of person you want writing the script of a podcast that wants to dive deep, not only into the histories and mysteries and spooky part of it, but the actual historical elements of relevance. Kind of makes us think of history that doesn't suck, which we also mention in our interview.
Yes, and the professor and Brandon are friends. What I love is Brandon specifically, they like to cover stories that aren't very well known, but they're all about the South. And there's so many spooky, creepy, weird, fucked up Southern stories. And this is one of them that you're going to hear. It was a spine tingler.
It's a spine tingler, and the best part of Southern Gothic is Brandon's voice, which you also get to hear us enjoy, and you will enjoy yourself.
He's great.
So please enjoy our interview with Brandon from Southern Gothic. Welcome to another edition of Freaky Friday, and we are joined by a very special guest today. We're joined by Brandon Schexnayder of Southern Gothic, which has become one of our favorite podcasts recently. I just told you, Brandon, I fell asleep listening to you last night. I hope you took that as a compliment.
That says more about you than it does about me.
That's true.
And very creepy stuff in there.
Yeah. I'm going to start saying that because people will often say, I hope it doesn't hurt your feelings. I'm like, if listening about true crime and paranormal is how you relax, then that's fine by me.
No judgment. Well, if any of you listening have not heard of Southern Gothic, it features captivating storytelling. I'm telling you, I was so immersed, sucked in, a beautiful soundscape, and it's all stories around the haunted places and the eerie happenings of the American South. So what kind of got you into starting this? I know you have a very clutch researcher and writer on the show. That probably had a little something to do with the show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, as you mentioned, my sister, Bryanne, she's my kind of partner in crime on the show. She's the silent partner because she's an archivist down at the Louisiana State Museum. So she's a researcher by trade. You know, she goes in that museum, she can pull out all the old newspapers and everything. But I don't know if y'all know much about archivists and historians like that, but they didn't really want to be seen ever. She really enjoys she's very much the quiet type. So she leaves me to kind of tell the stories. But, you know, the way we got into this is we joke, it's all our parents' fault because we grew up down in New Orleans. And our parents were really into genealogy. And this was back in like the 80s and the early 90s, right? And there's no internet yet. So that meant like once a month, we were headed to cemeteries up and down the Mississippi River in Louisiana.
Amazing.
So we were at cemeteries all the time. You know, they drug us to libraries and all. And, you know, obviously Bryanne kind of took the route of getting into the research part, and she really got into that. And obviously I got into the little bit darker part with hanging out at the cemeteries. And so it was really, this was something that's kind of been infused in us since we were little tykes, I guess. You know?
I love that. Are your parents avid listeners? Do they love it?
You know, I'm not sure. I know they're supportive. They're proud of us. I know that they've watched, you know, when we do a live show or something and we'll send a video, you know, they always seem to watch all of it and seem to watch some of the live streams and all. But my aunt, actually, she's a very big supporter, and she always likes to give my mother grief. Like, look at what you did to those kids.
I feel like I'm looking into my future, basically, because my children also, I told you a second ago, the bookshelf that I'm looking at right now, that's just like spells and potions and horror that they see regularly. Our daughter is very familiar with Pennywise. Yeah. To the point where, like, she refers to it by name almost daily. So they're probably headed down a similar path as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My 9-year-old listens to everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you. Like, she's on Spotify listening to all the shows and all. And it's, oh man, it's all down.
Well, we always joke like, I'm like, I used to watch like crazy stuff, and I read American Psycho in like 7th grade, and I turned out to be a true crime podcaster, so it's fine, right? Yeah. It probably had nothing to do with any of that about what we took in as children.
Yeah. I wrote a book report on the Bermuda Triangle in 7th grade.
And Goosebumps, obsessed with all that.
Goosebumps was great. Yeah, Unsolved Mysteries was a big one.
That's
for
what
me.
Did it for sure. Yeah. Do you remember In Search Of? That was the show that really on-ramped me. It was Leonard Nimoy. It was Spock. And it was kind of like, it was like a paranormal show, but like, it was reruns. I think it came out in the 70s, but they were rerunning when I was a kid before school. And so that's how I watched it. And it was everything from like the Loch Ness Monster, Bermuda Triangle, all that stuff. And that was really... I mean, that show right there.
Oh, yeah.
Right before school. You walk into middle school and you're like, let's go. I know the truth. What are we learning today?
Yeah, I
want to hear about Atlantis. I'll talk about Atlantis. I'm not trying to do algebra right now. I need to talk to you about there's a kingdom under the sea, and we need to discuss it. What is happening? Well, how do you come about picking some of these topics? Is it stuff that your sister comes across in the archives, or things that you remember from your childhood, or just like, oh, that's a big one, we've been meaning to cover it, or just kind of a combination?
You know, honestly, I hate covering the big ones. I don't even like doing the big ones. I think so many people do them. I really enjoy finding the smallest ones you can that have depth. Okay. So, you know, you just have all these places all over, these small towns in the South. You know, we stick to the Southern region, and, you know, sometimes we will have listeners will send us stories or something. Sometimes just tangentially we'll find a story off something else. You know, obviously looking back there, I got the bookshelf with all the stuff. We've acquired all these old books. I go to used bookstores and I look for books that you can't find on Amazon and all too. So we've been trying to find stories.
Heather likes to do that.
Yeah. You know, these old ghost story books that haven't been published in 40, 50 years. And, you know, what I like the most is when we can find a story that's never even been taken out of a small town in like any kind of mass like quantity, right? Like maybe it was published in a local press or something. Maybe it was something that is on their local ghost tour and there's a couple of YouTube videos, but it might have a lot of history behind it as well. So you know, that's not great for people who, you know, the SEO of a podcast, right? Like you're not going to come find me that way with these stories, but it keeps it interesting and it keeps it a whole lot of fun, you know, and the folks from those towns, I mean, obviously they eat it up when they hear, you know, the depth of it. 'Cause, you know, the kind of the running motto of the show was like, we want to take the stories that like your mama told you and we want to go find out what really happened. And that's kind of what the shtick is. So.
I love that.
the oral tradition so strong in the South of like, oh, well, you know, the boogeyman or this is gonna or whatever. And then to have that depth of bench of researcher of your sister to be able to say, oh, well, and I thought that was really fascinating about the Railroad Bill mini episode that I just listened to of like contextualizing why a legendary figure like that in that time would have come about and would have been made such more of a legend than it's just a guy robbing trains. But whenever you bring in that cultural context around it, it like enriches the story. And with the soundscape. So do you do all the sounds in the show? I love a
soundscape.
The soundscape's so good.
Yeah. So my trade, my craft, I was an audio engineer for years up on Music Row in Nashville. So I made a lot of records.
Making hits.
Did a lot of music. I know. And I got tired of making everybody else's art and, decided to come do this. And so I mean, I kind of, that was my leg up in coming into podcasting is I kind of understood audio already and understood microphones and how to do everything. So
that's a huge leg up because we did not understand any of that, which is why our first 12 episodes are not available because they sounded like such trash. And then Tommy had to self-teach himself everything from YouTube. Yeah. So to have that kind of background is a huge advantage to pivoting into something like this.
Well, I'm not saying the first few episodes didn't suck. Don't get me wrong here. Okay? I mean, we're definitely finding our way. And look, there's a songwriter, something that one of my songwriter friends says around town here. He says the first 100 songs don't count. So just go ahead, get them out of the way, suck at them, and let's move on. And, and, it was true here too. Don't worry.
Brush off the dirt. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, we hear you may have done a little bit of on the ground research for one of these stories that you're going to share with us today.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
You ready to get freaky? That's what we always say. I mean, let's get freaky.
I don't know if I'm ready. I am ready, but am I ready really? Because I don't know what I'm about to hear, but I'm ready.
I have a pumpkin spice latte, so I'm ready.
Oh,
ready
nice.
Then you won't fall asleep when I start telling you about this
I have a
awful
Diet
thing.
Coke. I'm also not going to fall asleep, but I wouldn't anyways.
Never. No, possibly. I'm telling you, it's so good. Then I woke up and rewound it.
You rewound it.
And your voice is so
it's
just
awesome.
the perfect for especially like a Southern, spooky podcast, perfect voice.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. Yeah.
Do you hear a lot? Do people tell you all the time that you have an accent? We hear that all the time and we don't hear our own accents and I don't hear one in you, but do you get that?
Yeah.
Regular?
Well, I think people point out some things that I mispronounce that is part of like the growing up in New Orleans thing that people don't realize because New Orleans has almost like this kind of like lazy Brooklyn thing when it gets really deep, like if I go down there, the drawl starts coming out more and more. And so, there's some things that definitely in the reviews sometimes will be like, you say this like this. And like, well, that's how my mama did it.
Yeah, right. That's how New Orleans does it.
I try, I do, but it's people expect a little different accent from New Orleans usually, so it's kind of a shock to know that the city boy from New Orleans sounds more Canadian almost sometimes. How I talk.
New Orleans, the Canada of the South. That's what they call it, right?
Often.
Oh man, well, you'll get me on tangents because I could tell you all about the Cajuns and all, but but my story actually is from Charleston, so I kind of picked another port town, if you will, than New Orleans. I tell so many New Orleans stories that this summer I decided to go out to Charleston and visit. Now, if you go out there, it is I like New Orleans and Savannah. This is just chock filled with haunted places. I mean, the place is old. It just got stories on top of stories. These things have just evolved over time. There are, hundreds of ghost tours you can take at this point, right? Pirate tours, everything creepy if you go. And I was fortunate I got to visit my friend Mike Brown, he's the host of Pleasing Terrors, a podcast, which if you've never heard of it, it's kind of like, he's like the Dan Carlin of the spooky. He doesn't come out with a lot of shows very frequently, but what he does, it is insanely researched and beautifully written. So I always recommend that. But I went out to Charleston and we actually decided to leave the city and go to this little cemetery on what's called Edisto Island, about 45 minutes away from Charleston. Okay. And this is a sea island out there. And these old sea islands, what they were is that they would grow what's called sea island cotton back in the day prior to the Civil War. Okay. It's very high profited cotton. People up in Europe, it was like silk to them, right? Just they ate it up, made a lot of money. And so, of course, these folks in Charleston, as you can expect, they were just rich, right? I mean, they were just making money hand over fist. And they'd, of course, own their house in Charleston, and then they have their plantation out on the sea island. Well, we went down there to visit the Presbyterian Church on Edisto Island, man. And it looked, when you pull up to it, it looked like all of those Low Country TV shows, like all the Nicholas Sparks movies, right?
Yes.
You know, the beautiful moss covered oak trees.
Yeah.
And
That's the island where the Murdoch family had their beach house.
Yes.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Okay. Exactly. I mean, it was just gorgeous, beautiful white cemetery, this old antebellum cemetery out there, and just this graveyard attached to it that just has these tombstones that are, over 200 years old in some cases, right? Just a long history, and it's all the same name, all these rich planter families in it. But they have this one mausoleum in the back of the property back there. And it's this rust-colored mausoleum, and it doesn't have a door on it. It's the Legree family mausoleum. It doesn't have a door, so you can even walk into it.
Wow.
And according to legend, they had to take the door off because it kept opening. Every time they'd go and they'd lock the door, it would just open. Yeah, exactly. Well, then I know who to not invite the next time I go to West Cemetery.
I'm just saying, if I worked there, I'd be like, take the door off. I'm not messing with that. Take the door off.
Is someone going in or is someone coming out is the question.
Exactly.
Or both.
Either
is it
way,
a revolving door? They come out and they go back when they're finished.
Well, we decided to go in and check it out, but I'll tell you a little bit about why they took it off before I tell you about my experience in the mausoleum itself. So, the mausoleum, it's called the Legree family mausoleum. The Legree family, they were one of those rich planters there, and John Legree married a woman who was the daughter of Captain William Seabrook. He was the richest man in Charleston. He had, he was running ferries, had this property, all kinds of stuff, And Julia was about 22 years old, and she's out there with John on Edisto Island. They're visiting some families, and she started to get ill while she's out there on the island. And, they're a little bit away from home and a little away from Charleston, a little isolated. So they had to get a doctor to come all the way down and check her out. Now, she probably had like a sore throat. It's what she noticed at first. And, eventually probably a little bit of a cough came through, maybe felt some swelling. And by the time the doctor got there, he looked at her throat and noticed there were even white patches that were starting to appear on her throat. And he knew exactly what it was. It was diphtheria. Just a horrendous disease, if you can imagine. So obviously you had to keep the family away and had to keep her isolated there because it's so contagious. This is back in 1852. She's only 22 years old. So there's really not much they could do. Mm-hmm. Just over time, as they're waiting to see what happened, she actually just got worse and worse. And eventually she just slipped into a coma. Oh. And after a few days, the doctor, he would come and check, and he'd check every day and check. And then finally one day, he declared that Julia had died. Okay. So, of course, with diphtheria being so contagious, right? And we're also in Charleston, so this is just humid as can be. Between those two things, it's like we've got to bury this body as quickly as possible. We don't want this. We don't want this to get around the rest of the family. We also don't want her body to start decomposing too quick. So the family, of course, they prepared her body for burial, put her in a beautiful white dress that she loved, and they brought her down to the Presbyterian Church in Edisto Island, and they brought her in this Legree family mausoleum, and they interred her the same day that she was declared dead. Then they closed the door and they locked the door. And over the following few weeks, folks around, when they'd come to mass or to church or they'd come to services, say you'd hear somewhere in that cemetery the sound of what was like crying or screaming, like a woman could hear this coming out of the cemetery, but nobody could quite pinpoint where it was echoing from. And eventually it just died down. It just died down, and everybody went about their business. Nobody thought anything of it until about 10 years later. 10 years later, Julia's brother passed away. He was fighting out in the Civil War. He gets killed in the Civil War, and his body's sent back home to be interred in the family mausoleum. So, of course, the family, they prepare his body as well. They take him down to the Presbyterian Church. They go to their old rust-colored mausoleum, and they go to unlock that door. And as they open the door, they hear the crash of bones come out the door. And what they find is Julia's body there, all bones with her white dress crumpled in the doorway.
Oh my God, she was alive. I knew when you said declared dead that it wasn't true. That is oh my God, she was buried alive, but in a mausoleum.
Absolutely, yeah. So, of course, the door had scratches on it from when she was trying to get out. And that's who they heard screaming around that church.
Here's just an idea for cemetery standards and policies. If you hear wailing and screaming into the night, just put your ear up against some stuff and see if maybe somebody needs to be fucking let out of somewhere. Oh my Lord.
What did we recently watch, Heather, where they had the bells on the outside of the graves, and they said that,
and they were ringing them
because people would like this, they didn't really know, and then someone might get buried and they would ring the bells, so they would.
This is a real fear.
The Nun is what we were watching.
Right. Oh, yes. Did you see the new movie?
We haven't seen the second one. The first one scared the shit out of me.
We saw a trailer for the second one, and I was like, well, I don't want to go in raw to the Nun, too. Yeah. I need the backstory.
We won't know what's happening. Clearly.
We need context. Because, that's what I was about to do.
But they needed a bell so she could ring the bell.
Yeah, this was a real fear back there. Legend says that George Washington actually on his deathbed asked, please don't bury me for like a week. Because he was concerned the same thing. So this was a real fear, and you can imagine opening that door. This family, they're mourning the loss of the son at this point. Had just been killed at war. And then they come and they open this door and they find that their daughter had been interred and they basically murdered her. You can imagine just how horrific this would have been for them, You
would have felt so
they carried on. They picked her up. They reinterred her in the cemetery. They brought, reinterred, closed the door, shut the door. And about a week later, they come back to pay their respects. And that door is open.
Oh.
They shut the door. They go off. They come back. The door is open. And nobody knows how many times this happened, but it didn't take long for them to be like, you know what? Julia does not want to be stuck in this mausoleum anymore. And they pulled that door off. So to this day, if you go down there, like I was saying, if you go down there, that door is entirely gone. It is a mausoleum. You can walk in, you can look at the walls, you can step inside and everything. And of course I had to go inside too. And, I'm not much of a ghost hunter. I like telling stories. I like doing the research, going to the libraries and all. I'm not really like a device guy, the evidence and stuff. A lot of friends who do it, they're a great job at it. I'm not patient enough. I think that's the problem. Okay? I can't sit around and wait for any of these guys. But we did take with us, we took dowsing rods with us just because we were playing with dowsing rods at that point, and my girlfriend had gotten a pair. And for anybody who doesn't know, these are like L-shaped copper rods, right? And what you do is you hold them in your hand in front of you and supposedly you can talk to spirits with the energy and they'll make movements, right? And if these two rods, they happen to cross in the front, you're asking a yes or no question. If they cross, it means yes. If they go wide, it means no. Or, it can do other things like that. So we decided to go in and try and talk to Julia at that point, right? Because even though I can go back and I can find all this research and I can prove she was buried there, obviously you can walk in and see, we've never been able to find any actual primary sources on whether or not she really was buried alive. I can coordinate the dates. We can line all these things up, but did this really happen? So, we went to the source with dowsing rods, right?
You got to go straight to the source. Even if they're in another realm, you got to go to the source.
Why not
you should try to get a comment.
Always try to get a comment, no matter living, dead.
Wide, no comment.
That's what I should have asked. I know. No, we went in, of course, and I just went and stood inside there, right there where she's interred and asked, hey, Julia, are you here? And of course, they crossed. Yes. Wow. I mean, just right out of the gate. So I asked, well, where are you? And of course, the rods kind of turned over to where she was interred and just turned in that direction. And, I can be skeptical with some of that stuff, but it got a little creepy. And this was the middle of the day, y'all. I'm not that adventurous either. Right?
But we 3 a.m.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this was hour in this mausoleum.
It was like lunchtime in the mausoleum. We were having,
Julia, would you like a sandwich? And then just cross the middle. Well, you came at lunchtime.
Yeah, she totally, but she wanted shrimp and grits. Woods. This is Charleston. Yeah. But we asked her, we asked if it was true or not. And, and she said no. So I don't know if it's true or not. But we did ask at that point. They went wide. It said, no, that didn't happen. But I asked, do you want me to keep telling your story anyway? And it crossed right into yes.
Yeah.
So whether or not we're going to believe the dowsing rods or anything else with Julia's tale, this is keeping her memory alive.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that I really love about telling ghost stories is she was a real person out there,
right?
And you can go visit this cemetery today and you can check out that mausoleum and it is a blast, a beautiful cemetery. So. Absolutely.
I love how respectful you were to ask if she wanted her story to continue to be told.
You gotta ask.
Yeah, well, what I've learned in all my years of telling ghost stories, and especially with doing kind of ghost tours on the streets, right? Like doing guiding ghost tours on the streets. What I've found is that if you are really honest with your telling and you try and be respectful, that's when people have experiences on your tours. Mm-hmm. It's never when you get something wrong. It's never anything like, they're not coming out and smacking me upside the head or anything. They're like, oh, man. But if you tell the story, if you really, it seems to be those are the ones that they'll trigger and they'll respect. So, it's a blast doing it. And I love telling stories that way for sure.
That's amazing.
Sinisterhood will be right back. As a ghost, if I heard someone telling my story wrong, I would be like, I'm not giving you the satisfaction of thinking I'm real. But you're right. On the ghost tour in New Orleans, like we were down an alleyway and the tour guide said, this is a bit of a sad spot, but I want to take a moment and remember there was a man who was often seen out here and he would like set up shop right here and he was recently killed really tragically. And I just like to sit here and take a moment for him. And the lights around us like flickered up and she was like, hey, whatever, Charlie or whatever. And we were all just like looking around and she was just like, I don't normally do this. I just felt really like I wanted to stop and pay my respects. And we were all like, oh, okay, thanks, Charlie. Hi, or whatever his name was. But you're right. That ghost tour was not a like, ooh, the dirty details of his horrible death. It was like, hey, we want to stop and mark the remembrance of a friend. And I think that's the ultimate fun part for me of ghost stories. Like you said, if you think back to Julia, that if you would have told her, hundreds of years ago, people in the way, way, way distant future that you can't even imagine are going to be saying your name and talking about you and trying to talk to you, it would blow your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, truly. And also what an honor. But and that is the power of storytelling, especially in the South is, to keep the legends alive by passing them down over generations. Brandon, what's the creepiest thing you encountered when you were doing your ghost tours?
Most of the ones that we'd go on, it was always stuff in windows. Most of the time it would be people saying things in window. People feel like they're getting watched. There's stuff like that. So that was just the most common. I do it. There was this one occasion though that it really blew me away. There was a guy at the very beginning. Look, when you do a ghost tour, there's always like the person who wants to be on the ghost tour and then the person they dragged with them.
Yes.
Right. And, so you kind of have like a crowd
and the believer.
Yeah. Like 2/3 of your crowd wants to be there. And then the other third's going to stand in the back grimacing. And it's kind of like it becomes a challenge to get them involved throughout the tour, of course. But, I had this one gentleman, you could tell he was there because of his wife, but at the beginning of the tour, he wanted to talk to me because he was really into history. Right. He was really in it and wanted to hear more about the history of the place. And we were chatting. He's, of course, I don't believe any is skeptical. And we get to the last spot at the very end. And it was a spot. There's a lot of paranormal activity. It's the only really spot in this small town of Franklin where I give tours where people want to do ghost hunts. They want to actually come inside and do the whole deal. Wow. Right. It's one that's really active that way. And after we tell them the stories and stuff, we kind of let them go up on the porch and just kind of peek around and see if they can get a vibe. This is a big dude. This is probably like 6'2", big guy, and he was all right across the tour, but he went up on the porch and everybody's up on the porch, man. And dude came flailing down the stairs after being up there for about a minute. I mean, like I thought he was going to knock somebody over. And I mean, he showed me his arm and it was like just all the hair on his arm. And he had gotten so freaked out up there. And so like, I don't know what experience, he kind of just said he just got this overwhelmed by it all at once. So I don't know what the paranormal happened to him that night, but of all the things, just the way that dude looked coming down those stairs will forever stick with me about the weird stuff that can happen,
It's that genuine raw fear. Like you're like, this wasn't made up. I'm witnessing a real reaction from someone that you didn't expect it out of. So there's a lot of credibility to that, I think, when that stuff happens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, there's no jump scares.
It's a testament to your great storytelling.
Yeah, or, I mean, like you said, like was it the Ohio State Reformatory, Heather, where we did the tour, and the basement that used to be the showers?
Oh, yeah.
We, when we went in there, I mean, there was just this overwhelming, oppressive feeling. And our friend Leanne was with us, and she started crying. And the tour guide was like, this was one of the roughest areas because it was down in the basement. It was so isolated. It was the showers. So a lot of beatings happened here and everything. And just the energy and feeling down there, skeptic or no skeptic, you can't deny like how oppressive it was. So if he walked up there and just like overwhelming sense of like weird energy that you're not used to, it's overwhelming.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. And you're not looking for, but maybe more open to an energy you're not normally thinking about but when you're on a ghost tour, you've opened that eye of yourself, and all of a sudden it rushes right in.
Yeah, we did something recently. We went to Waverly Hills in Louisville, the sanatorium.
Oh, we just did a listener tale about their experience at Waverly Hills. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm not really a big ghost hunter. And my girlfriend Heidi actually is the one that picks the really creepy ones that we go to. So she's the one that was like, we're going to Louisville and going to this. Right? and she picked the midnight to 6 a.m. tour. Okay. Nice. It wasn't a tour. It was like the wander around the building, right?
Oh, okay.
You don't even get to go see it during the daylight. You're pulling up and you're seeing that big shadow of that giant building there. And, and she's tough, so she's doesn't get scared often. She even did when we were in the morgue part, she got in one of the drawer things. Okay. So
she's the bravest person I've ever heard of.
Like, come on,
He got in the morgue drawer.
Oh,
yeah. No. She got in one of the morgue. I have a picture of her in one of the morgue drawers. Now, it's like, so anyway, she's no fear of coming to these places with me. She's the one that gets me to get the extra scary ones. But we were on the third floor, just like you're saying. And we were up there and we were walking around and I was there again. I wasn't using devices or anything, man. I was there to see a shadow person. They're supposed to have shadow. I was keeping I want to see a shadow person here, but man, we were on the third floor. And at one point we're just walking down and she just grabbed my arm and she's like, we're getting out of here. we are not. And just, immediately was like, we're turning around and going. I do not want to go down there. And
what was the third floor?
Was
it a specific floor?
No, it was just this spot right here. So this was the one where I believe it was, if you'll ever hear the story about the axe where the kids were trapped. So these kids were trapped in the stairs there or something and trying to use an axe to get out. And then finally a security guard came and just opened the door. And it wasn't locked or anything, but they couldn't get out. Yeah.
Wow. So this was years after it had been closed and they were just there exploring.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's but the place, it's got spooky vibes everywhere. That place is just, it's so haunting being there. But like you're saying, it's energy just as much as it is actual spirits, right? That energy is so pervasive. And I think a lot of people, that's the first thing that people notice when they go to a haunted place is they just feel like they're not supposed to be there or something,
It's like heavy longevity, all that darkness, and especially a place like the old, we would call them now a mental health treatment facility, but back then the asylums, which were in most cases just torture facilities. And so that much concentrated human suffering, I think it can't not leave some type of energy mark there because it's just so much and such oppressive energy. But I think coming in with like a positive, non, Zach Bagans-ish, like, let's fight ghosts. But, coming in to be like, would you like me to tell your story? Are you here? What's your presence? Anything like that. But that feeling, sometimes you don't need to poke a ghost. You just have that feeling like, I ain't going down there.
We're getting out of here.
I did not get in the morgue drawer, by the way. I'm just going to put that on the disclaimer.
Did they close it, or did she just lay on the like thing they pull out, or did they fully push her in and close it?
She got in. Like there wasn't a door on it, so it's not like we closed her in, but she got like all the way in.
Wow.
I mean, I mean, look, I think part of it is 40. I don't think I was getting out if I got in. Maybe that was just as much my fear.
You're like, just leave me.
She was jumping
send the medical
in,
examiner. I'll be here. I'll be here. Find my mausoleum. It's fine. That's bold though, man. Just be like, all right. If they're offering it on the tour though, I don't know. I might have done it.
I think I might have. I'm like, you're there. You have to make the most of it. It's a once in a lifetime type thing. So, but then, that's how you get cursed. So I don't know.
Just do not tell yourself you only live once before you do something like that.
Don't say that.
Okay?
That's true.
It's true. Bring enough friends to help you get off the table, because that's always important. You don't want to have it be in your obituary trapped at the Waverly Hills Sanatorium mortuary due to her own silliness.
Would you say that is the most haunted place you've ever visited as far as the feeling you got?
There's I would say that was the most like kind of famous haunted place that I've been, that I've gotten that feeling. There's a place down here in Franklin, an old Masonic Hall down here. And it was the field hospital for the U.S. Army after this bloody battle. And it just had so much stuff going on as well. It's been around for 200 years, built, I think, between 1860 and 1825. That building still kind of, I feel like the second you walk in, it just feels like the walls talk to you. Whether or not we're talking about ghosts or spirits or anything, it's just a place where as soon as you cross that threshold, you just feel like you were somewhere else almost. And that's been probably the most I've felt somewhere. But Waverly, certainly, I mean, out of all the places I've gotten heebie-jeebies, there's that would be one. Yeah,
that would be up there. Yeah,
I recommend it if you want to go at midnight. Yeah.
I'm here for it. I want to do the midnight to 6 a.m. tour, Heather. We're doing it.
We'll do it. We're going to Waverly Hills. We're doing it. Buy a ticket. Is the Masonic Hall still used as a hall?
It is. So the one here in Franklin,
having meetings with a lot of attendees.
Exactly.
Yes, most of them you cannot see.
Yeah, it's a 3-story building back in 1860 and 1825. It's been nothing but a Masonic Hall for the entire duration. There's still those men are still in there and everything, and still the second floor and everything still has everything going on. They moved some wall coverings on it and everything, and you can see old scribblings on the walls, even from the soldiers that stayed there. It looks like a men's bathroom on this one wall because of all the like colorful limericks and junk, but. I didn't mean to come on here and plug it by any means, but they're actually doing tours this Halloween. So if you're in Franklin,
that's awesome. Plug
you
it,
actually
please.
Can go to franklinwalkingtours.com. They're doing tours for, I believe, every Saturday leading up to Halloween in October. And they just released it, and it is not open to the public often because it is still a working Masonic Hall. So it's a really rare opportunity if anybody's in Middle Tennessee. Yeah.
Yeah.
We might have to go to Tennessee, Heather.
Right, we'll take a trip. We never turned down a trip to go to Nashville. It's fun. Brandon, we had a great time last time. We got to get back.
Oh yeah, Nashville's great.
A little bit, a little bit. Yeah. Do you ever had any experiences at the Ryman while you're in Nashville? Do you believe the hype about it? It's about maybe old Hank walking back and forth between the orchid behind it.
I think my experiences at the Ryman were other spirits, if you know what I mean. It was never had a little too much fun there and wasn't really looking for the paranormal. But I've been there. I've been there a few times for sure. But no, never had anything like that.
We did a tour of it. Yeah, we didn't feel anything too eerie in the auditorium, but I bet like the backstage area late at night probably does have some weird vibes to it.
Yeah,
but we did go over to the Wild Orchid. Is that where we had those frozen drinks that were so good?
I was like, Kahlua.
They're like frozen Yoo-hoo.
Oh gosh.
But you know what I'm talking about, Brandon? What is it?
No,
Moose City?
No, it has Kahlua in it. They have a wild name and I can't think of it.
Like a White Russian kind of deal or something. You see, here we could talk.
Yeah, but I think they were specific to that area. My friend texted me about them. I could probably find it. They were so good though. But like one of those, and we were like, "Whoa! It is 2 p.m.
Bushwhacker.
Bushwhacker. That was it.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
I knew I'd find it.
No,
I can't believe we forgot that that's what it's called.
Yeah.
I can't believe I thought you said Moo City. What is wrong with me?
Nothing. I think we were just like, it has something to do with bush, moo, milk, something, cow. I don't know, but we figured it out. We got there.
But they were delicious. So
we all got there. Oh, Brandon, we had such a great time talking with you today. Yes. I really want to go on that walking tour. If anybody listening is anywhere near there, and if we can't make it, y'all go and write us a Freaky Friday story about it, because I want to know. I want to know.
Yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
Yeah, come see us.
For folks who want to hear more Southern Gothic, where can they find you on podcast apps, on the socials, all that good stuff?
Oh, yeah. Wherever you listen to this show, get on there, look up Southern Gothic, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. We're not on Stitcher anymore, are we? But we got we got the Amazon Music, the whole gamut. We're there. You were on YouTube as well. Awesome. And have our website, southerngothicmedia.com. You can hit us up there.
Fantastic. Well, we really appreciate it.
Yes, it's been so much fun talking to you. I can pick your brain for hours about all the cool places you've been to, and your sister, who maybe we could do a secret meeting, since she doesn't like to be in front of the camera.
Yeah. Her and the cats will have to come. She'll come out.
You didn't have to say she had cats. We all figured that.
You knew that already. I know. And they're all named after ghosts. So, really.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what are they?
Are they really?
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Wait, what are the cats' names?
Sorry. She's got Delphine, which is the Lilori. Awesome. Okay. She has one that's called Dixie, which was years ago, which we tease her now. It's awful now. But Dixie Beer in New Orleans, there's a haunted brew house.
Oh.
Right? So it's named for the brew house.
Yeah. And then she just recently named the most recent one that she just got, literally a week ago, she got a new kitten. Called Josie, named after Josie Arlington, who was this infamous madam down in the red light district of New Orleans. Oh. And Bryanne spent a lot of time researching that. And she has we have an episode on it if you guys are ever interested. She had a tomb, a mausoleum that was haunted, and supposedly the statue of her came to life at night and would walk through the cemetery.
So, definitely going to listen to that episode 100%. I had to ask because when we went to the Stanley in Colorado, our ghost tour guide had some cats, and I asked the name of one of them but not the other, and to this day I'm like, I wish I would have known what that cat's name was. So thank you for telling me. I would have been wondering. I would have had to email you. It would have been a whole thing. So thanks for being with us today.
What we're also learning is people need to check mausoleums more. There's got to be checks and balances on what's going on in those.
We need a Ring doorbell camera inside the mausoleum, like a baby monitor.
Really, though, that would be.
A nanny cam is just a teddy bear with the camera just sitting in the corner. Oh, the things that thing would catch.
Yikes. Well, we've all sufficiently freaked ourselves out, but if anybody else wants to freak themselves out more in such a captivating way, check out Southern Gothic wherever you get your podcasts. It's a perfect way to celebrate spooky season all year round. Yeah. So thanks for what you do, Brandon.
Thank you guys for having me. Yeah.
Thanks so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much, Brandon, for talking to us. And thank you all for listening to our Freaky Friday this week. We've got some things we want to tell you about here, a little announcement for you. We normally tell you where we're going to be performing, but we thought since you're listening to Freaky Friday, you're listening to a fun Freaky Friday interview, you might want to see one of our Freaky Friday friends. That's right. Professor Greg Jackson from History Doesn't Suck is going to be here in Dallas, Texas. You are listening to this hopefully right when it comes out on October 5th. And that means right when it comes out on October 6th. And that means tonight, October 6th, 2023 at 7:30 p.m. at the Wiley Theater in Dallas, Texas. You can catch our favorite professor, Greg Jackson, as he performs The Unlikely Union, which is all about defining moments in American history.
I wish so bad we were going to be in town to go to this. When he talked about it on our Freaky Friday, we were like, oh my gosh, it's like such an incredible show. And he does so much research and he's such a great writer. He spent so much time developing this show, and it's a one-man show. It's going to be very impressive. You can travel back in time through epic storytelling of familiar and unsung real characters from history and return with real context for today.
And that's what we like about Greg Jackson. He's not only just bringing you the cool historical stories, but putting it in context of why should we be listening to it or talking about it or why does it matter? And we thought you like Southern Gothic, you like Professor Greg Jackson, you're going to love history that doesn't suck live. So check it out at the Wiley Theater tonight at 7:30.
Speaking of theater, Heather, we're getting back on the old high school theater stage for a brief appearance, but don't think that I'm not going to make this night all about my return to the stage.
You and I, what we're talking about is on, what is the spookiest day? It's Friday the 13th.
It's got to be.
And at 7 p.m., you and I will be at Newman Smith High School in Carrollton, Texas, and doing a very brief, fun guest appearance in the play of Clue. Clue is one of your favorite movies.
If it's top 3, I talk about it quite a bit.
And in the live version of Clue, you have the 2 detectives that kind of pop in, which is similar to the movie, and they're going to be a rotating cast of guests. So we have agreed to be the guests for the spookiest day, which is Friday the 13th. And the really best part of it is we're doing it all for charity. So Newman Smith High School is a Title I school in Texas. That means 73% of the students are economically disadvantaged. It's a 91% minority enrollment, and their theater is a self-funded theater program, which means that it's not totally funded by the school, totally funded by the district. The students often have to come up with money to participate, which isn't fair. Every student should just get to participate. And because of that, Newman Smith doesn't want to charge the students fees, so they rely on their booster club and outside donations to let the kids go to things like the Mastro Arts Workshop, the Texas Thespian Convention.
Oh,
Did you go to the
yes.
Thespian Convention?
I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, shit. Well, as a proud member of Troop 6292 from John Horn High School, I think all students should get to go to the Thespian Conference.
Oh, yes, they should. I will not besmirch the name of my old theater teacher because she is no longer living, but she had a bad experience there and then decided we couldn't participate. And that's the only way you get scholarships with theater is UIL. So we didn't get to do UIL. And then the year after I graduated, they hired a new theater director, and then they went on to UIL and won a bunch of shit. So that's cool. But a lot of my friends that stayed in it did end up getting theater scholarships after that when they graduated. So that's nice.
See, and that's the wonderful thing about theaters. It's something that the kids can do, be passionate about, and maybe even get their college paid for. So your donation goes to help that. Check the link in our bio for how to donate. If you're in Dallas and would like to see the wonderful production of Clue, Newman Smith High School in Carrollton, Texas, come and see us on the freakiest of Friday of all, October 13th at 7 p.m., and we'll pop on stage. But mostly, it's just a good-ass play.
I remember our middle school did this play. My class wasn't in theater that semester, but I got to watch it and it was very fun. And I just say there's no small parts, only small actors. And while we may only be on stage for like a minute, we will make the most of it.
We'll make all the most of it. To prepare, we have the full script that Lindsay Powerkey, who's the director of this and a dear friend of ours and officiated my wedding, gave us a copy of the script so we could prepare. And instead, we did a dramatic reading of the whole thing out loud on Christy's porch.
Yes. So. Just Heather and I playing all of the characters. Was it chaos? Yes, it was. But we still successfully did it. It was a lot of fun.
What does Sinisterhood do for fun? We sat on Christy's porch and we did a live reading of a high school play. And it was so fun. It was great. So
just the two of us. We had different accents for each character. I was proud of us.
It was great. It was 10 out of 10. I'd go see it again. But we're not. That's not what we're putting up. What's really going up is the much better acted and rehearsed Clue at Newman Smith. So check the link in bio for more info. And hopefully we'll see you on Friday the 13th. If you don't come, you'll be cursed. That's just how it works.
That is what happens. Yeah. Well, thank you again to everyone that sent in their Freaky Friday stories and to Brandon from Southern Gothic for talking with us. If you have an odd but true story, maybe you've encountered Bigfoot, you've seen a UFO, you had a brush with true crime, or you felt the presence of an otherworldly being, send them in at sinisterhood.com/Freaky Friday. If you like our free episodes, you'll love our Patreon bonus content. You can join for free to see what we're up to next or dive into over 500 hours of bonus content. We've got all sorts of stuff that we just recently posted.
And this week we got all new true crime headlines. We're talking about updates in the Murdaugh case, the Ellen Greenberg case, a small update in the Idaho murders case. And we've got some non-true crime content. If you need something lighter, we've done some recent Ask Reddit. Anytime you want something wacky, just scroll back through to like Judge Christie or Am I the Assholes. Those are always a hoot.
There's an Off My Chest that has... Was it Off My Chest or Ask Reddit? The tampon? Fiona and the tampon? It has garnered more comments than I think any post we've ever had.
Yes. It was just what sorry, I was like, what tampon? Yeah, duh. We just did a whole long thing about it. There's a tampon mystery. This lady keeps finding tampons in her house, and we can't figure out why, and please help. So please
we think her husband's having an affair. We can't prove it. But everyone in the comments also thinks something very sus is going up, and there's a lot of suggestions as to how she could figure this out. So if you want to get in on this mystery that is still not solved, we're actively trying to solve it. Please go to Sinisterhood.com/Patreon.
Yeah, just click it in the top banner. You can also, while you're at Sinisterhood.com, click shop in the top banner and check out Sinisterhood merch. We've got t-shirts, mugs, totes, stickers, clothes for your kiddos. We also have some new stuff like a new crew neck sweatshirt. We have a new hoodie with a nice kangaroo pocket. And we have a very cool beanie with the Sinisterhood logo in purple with like a white outline. It's a black beanie. It's very warm and cozy, and it fits snug and nice down on your head. It's not going to be cold enough to wear it on our trip that we're about to go on, but I'm just going to wear it as soon as it gets cold here.
When you brought it over, we got the sample in and you wore it over. Tommy and I were both like, yes.
They're like,
looks
look at
very
that.
good. Yeah.
Very fashionable. So go to Sinisterhood.com, click shop on the top banner and get yours today.
While you're there, you can also review the show, follow us on socials, and check out the episode description for more fun like topic-based playlists and links to live show tickets.
You can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Sinisterhood Pod. You can like us on Facebook at Sinisterhood. You can watch our full interview with Brandon from Southern Gothic, as well as all of our other Freaky Friday interviews at youtube.com/Sinisterhood Podcast. We're also on TikTok and Cameo. If you go to cameo.com/Sinisterhood, you can book us to do a custom personal video shout out. So we can say happy birthday, I love you, happy anniversary, whatever message you want to deliver to the Sinisterhood fan in your life. We would love to deliver. It's one of our favorite things to do. And if you put more info in there and ask us to bust out a puppet or something silly, we usually can accommodate those requests. But go to cameo.com and book the custom video shout out of your dreams today.
If you do it in the next 48 hours, you'll get one from the beautiful city of Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah, you have this weekend. If you do this,
this weekend. This is the only time that we'll be in Wilmington, North Carolina.
We might be able to do a cameo from a haunted ship. TBD.
That is true. So we could. We might be able to.
Yeah, get it in before like Sunday. So cameo.com/Sinisterhood. Where are you at on the computer?
I'm on Instagram at Christy M. Wallace and TikTok at Christy or GTFO. And I'm soon going to be on Juggalo Book at I'm going to workshop that name because it's got to be really good. And probably a lot of them have been taken, but TBD. I'll get back to you. Heather, where are you?
Chicken Hunter 69420 on Juggalo Book. And then I'm always on them chickens and everywhere else at Heather versus the World.
I have to listen to the lyrics of this song as soon as we're finished.
We're just going to turn it on.
Oh, why does 69420 always make me laugh? It will never not make me laugh. I'm sorry, they're funny numbers. And together, they're the best number.
It's hilarious. This Airbnb,
great.
I'm going to lose some ranks. They're going to be like, they play Juggalo music for 72 hours straight. The neighbors complain the whole time. They shouldn't have complained. They should have enjoyed it.
Yeah. Here's a cup of Faygo. Why don't you go enjoy yourself? And then she's like,
with Faygo.
I don't take Juggalo coin. And we're like, well, this is how we're paying for this. So you can take it or leave it.
Listen, we've recently converted the Sinisterhood bank account solely to Juggalo coin, and we don't know how to pay you otherwise. So you want money or you want money? She's like, fine, it's fine.
Yeah. And then that's how the Juggalo movement, it's a grassroots movement,
exactly.
You know? You got to force people sometimes into it, but it happens.
Do your part. Do your part.
As always, the devil and the Juggalos rules the airwaves. Keep it creepy. Whoop, whoop.
Give me that Faygo.
Wait, I said keep it creepy. You're supposed to say that.
Leave it.
I confused myself because I threw in the whoop whoops.
Whoop whoop.
Bye, ninjas.
Sinisterhood.